morning, all of you. I'm Dinushika from Sri Lanka. I'm a sociologist and I'm a lecturer attached to the Department of Sociology at the University of Peradeniya in Sri Lanka. So my research is about thermal exposure and social health vulnerabilities among southern dry zone farmers in Sri Lanka. This is a part of my master's research, and I'm trying to discuss how this thermal exposure impacts on farmers and how it is linking with their multidimensional vulnerabilities. So I'll be focusing on the main part of the presentation on social health dynamics shaped by the polycrisis of rural communities. So these are the main thematic areas I'll be discussing. So climate change is a pressing issue experienced by communities worldwide, and heat stress is one of the major themes that we are discussing at the moment. When it comes to Sri Lanka, heat stress is not a very popular discourse at the moment, but we are discussing about floods and landslides a lot, but heat is an upcoming issue. In the future, we will be experiencing heat as a major crisis, so this is one of the major areas that we are currently trying to discuss, currently trying to put into the discussions among researchers. When it comes to outdoor workers, according to literature, most of the outdoor workers are vulnerable to heat, and also specifically farming communities and fishing communities are vulnerable to heat stress in Sri Lanka. And where I'm focusing is southern dry zone of Sri Lanka. In 2023, authorities warned workers to control their outdoor work to make sure that they are not being subjected to health risks. But most of the workers were working under heat in covered clothes, which are not fully protecting them from possible risks. So high temperatures are impacting on them, but they are highly considerate about their livelihood security. When it comes to this field is very familiar with drought, but their familiarity with drought is not fully protecting them from possible risks in the future. So I'm trying to discuss about how their vulnerability is shaped here. So, under this backdrop, the research objective is to explore the intersectional barriers formed by heat stress in farming communities, focusing on the ways embodied strain, psychosocial distress, and embedded economic hardship converge to influence vulnerability and resilience. So, moving to literature a little bit, rising temperatures have cascading effects in Sri Lanka. Some are direct and some are indirect, including precipitation changes, heat stress, like sea level rise, and most of these issues are impacting on both ecosystems as well as communities. So, however, the awareness and coping mechanisms of communities remain limited. And as you can see in this graphic, it's a very recent one from IWMI. They predict that Sri Lanka's temperature will be increased in the future, though it is now very significant at the moment. It is increasing, but it is not significant like in other South Asian countries or other parts of the world, but it will be a significant matter in the future. So most of the outdoor workers are experiencing heat because of their comfort nature to this heat environment. They just overestimated it in many instances. And in literature, it is highlighting the infrastructural violence. Most of the infrastructures are not protecting them from heat environments. They are impacting on them to be further linked with their vulnerability. So moving to the research methodology, this was a qualitative study, and my research field was a part of southern province of Sri Lanka. They have the heat as a problem, but again, that is an area where drought is visible. But again, you can see from that map, the quotient level is not very high or extreme, but the quotient level is like it's quotient, but none of the areas in Sri Lanka have no dangerous level as of 2025 April. But still, there's a tendency to increase this heat in the future. And I have conducted this research with 25 in-depth interviews with 20 male farmers and 5 female farmers, and 2 focus group discussions and key informant interviews with agricultural development officer and public health officer of the area. So moving to the findings and discussion, one of the main themes I'm trying to highlight here is limited cooling mechanisms at their houses. Specifically, these farmers do not have cooling mechanisms at their houses. Like they do not have fans. Limited houses had fans, but they are not using that fans much to cool themselves. Because of the electricity bills that they will get at the end of the month, they are fear of that electricity bills, and the poverty hits really well. And most of the farmers, they are safeguarding their cultivation plots in the night. So to safeguard their cultivation plots in the night, they need to have a good nap during the day. So they can't have the good nap because of the high temperature. They said that we know this heat, we are familiar with this heat, but now it's unbearable. So we can't sleep. Their sleep is disrupted because of that. Most of the times, they find it difficult to stay up at the night to safeguard their cultivation plots. And again, nighttime temperature is increasing in Sri Lanka. There's data. So that when it comes to these tree houses, like the places to safeguard the cultivation plots, they are reluctant to go from these tree houses to fetch water in case if their water is finished in these tree houses because of the fear of wildlife attacks. Because elephants are there, they are in the tree houses because they need to protect their cultivation plots. During the night, because of the nighttime temperature increases, their water is like finishing very quickly, but they can't go because of their fears. So you can see that their factors of vulnerability are not just heat, but they are socio-cultural, environmental. So, and again, water scarcity is also linking with this matter a lot. And I'm looking at the gendered thermal science as well. So, self-reported health outcomes and some of the clarifications given by public health officer are also mentioned here. Most of the male farmers have reported these health outcomes, and as I mentioned before, they're reluctant to leave treetop houses at night to fetch water, make them sometimes dehydrated, and during the day they feel it very exhausted, and also they have these problems like difficulty in breathing, headaches, sleep disruption, as I mentioned previously. And when it comes to female farmers and females who have interviewed in this research, they have the problem because of their workload. Like they are work during the day, at home, they are taking care of their children, and they have like dual workload. They are taking food to their husbands, and they are fetching water, and also they are gathering firewood. So they have a lot of workload. So they are already exhausted. So their vulnerability has been doubled because of this rise in temperature that I'll be discussing in the next slide as well. So, to discuss the relationship between culture and thermal insecurity, women are engaged in household activities as well as small-scale income earning activities to support their livelihoods in their houses. Basically, they are cultivating, like small-scale cultivating in their home gardening. And the fruits or vegetables they cultivate in these home gardens are sold by the road, nearby road, and they find it difficult to sold these fruits and vegetables by the road because of this very heat environments. And also, culture plays a huge role. Washrooms, water taps, showering spaces in Sri Lankan rural spaces are mostly located away from the main house. So, because of the notion of purity, and when it comes to night, they are very reluctant to go to these taps or wells or any space like washrooms because of the fear of wildlife attacks again. So specifically when it's come to the like menstruation period poverty is a serious matter in there. When it comes to menstruation period, they find it's very difficult to like nights are very difficult to them. Sometimes it's not only physical but also psychosocial. And in-house water supply is minimal, and culturally, women are predominantly in this responsibility of fetching water. So again, that is linked with their experience of heat and the challenges. So when it comes to livelihood insecurities, seasonal cultivation is disturbed because of climate change in Sri Lanka. So basically, Sri Lankan farmers were considered to cultivate in Yala and Maha. Those are two Sinhala terms. Yala is May to September. Maha is from December to February. So now, because of climate change, rainy seasons are not as like before because they have changed. They have changed their cultivations, like shifted from this seasonal cultivation to year-round cultivation. So this year-round cultivations demand a lot of labor. Intense labor makes them very tired, and that physical strain and their lack of breaks are impacting on them to feel very tired, very exhausted, and this year-round cultivation has impacted on their health as well. And also, another aspect is this wildlife attacks and reduced harvest. Wildlife is also attracting these villages because of this rise in temperature, lack of water, like all the matters are interconnected when it comes to experiencing their vulnerability. And livestock production is another aspect. Basically, livestock production is a part of their life, like they are engaging in livestock production, like curd production, but curd production is also disturbed because Their like fermentation is disturbed, and disrupts fermentation, reduced fuel quality, and increasing spoilage is there because of these rising temperatures. And also, altogether, all these factors are impacting on farmers in enhancing their vulnerability in this context. So look at the psychosocial burdens of extended insecurity and exhaustion. I have put some quotes here. So first, you can see some of the parts like anxiety and stress about livelihood security. Though the temperatures are increasing, though the temperature increasing level is unbearable, sometimes they feel like they should protect their livelihoods. See, we have mouths to feed and debts to pay. We have no time to think about he. Though we feel hard, we have challenges in our life. They are prioritizing their other challenges in their life. And intensified anxiety due to income loss and financial insecurities there, and emotional stress, strain and discomfort due to menstruation poverty and infrastructural barriers are also there. And when it comes to fear and frustration, they are closely associated with other social and environmental barriers. As I mentioned before, their frustrations are not just because of health, but also because of culture, environmental factors like wildlife attacks, and also their poverty and economic insecurities. So I have summarized some of the challenges and strengths here. When it comes to challenges, lack of awareness of heat stress and limited healthcare advocacy in addressing it is a problem. When it comes to health-seeking behavior, when they feel like they are exhausted, when they have certain challenges in their health, they are not seeking healthcare support, like generalizing, overlooking their own health is one of the major areas that we see. Like we can take medications later. That is normal. So that normalization or generalization may lead to further issues. Since the conserved nature or the acclimatization to these environments, sometimes they do not see heat as a very serious problem that impacts on their health, but some of the health matters are very closely associated with their other health outcomes like CKD-related issues. And poverty, wildlife attacks, and restrictive gender and cultural norms are associated, and livelihood insecurity remains in the core area. Like all the matters are very much linked with livelihood insecurity. So as a strength, I see community-based measures such as tea breaks. So the tea breaks are very, very helpful in making them to be having cooling breaks. Like they consider these tea breaks as socializing spaces, socializing public spaces. So these socializing public spaces contribute as heat responsive spaces. Though they are reluctant to stop work, thinking that they will be delayed in their production or cultivations, but they are very much interested in these tea breaks that they can socialize and talk to each other. So this contributes a lot in terms of making them like indirectly to make them less exposed to the heat. And again, even in birds at lakes. So we have lakes and canals which are not properly utilized when it comes to agriculture in this zone. But again, they have evening baths, like you're having bath in swimming pool, like you're having bath in canal or lake, cools down your body. So mostly male farmers are like they have this as a practice, but female farmers have not doing that infrequently. And as conclusions, farmers' accustomed nature to drought has made them resilient to heat stress to a certain extent, but still, their generalization and overlooking nature may impact on their further vulnerabilities. Both men and women are experiencing social health insecurities due to heat stress, but women's experience are more culturally mediated. Precautions of heat stress are shaped by culture, environmental challenges. Most of these matters are interconnected. We cannot isolate biological or cultural or environmental factors here. All are interconnected, exacerbating their vulnerabilities. And health outcomes of heat stress are therefore should be understood altogether. Intersectional perspective should be there, and for recommendations, I suggest resilient infrastructure, advocacy, more cooling breaks, improved healthcare access, and reconfiguration of community practices, and establishing social safety nets, because community-based measures can work really, really well in this kind of context. So that's all. Thank you very much.